Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, we've come to the end of Madonna's tour. I didn't go to Brisbane. I was planning to because originally it was the end of the show. And then they moved it to the middle of the week between Melbourne and Sydney, which were both weekend, 2 sets of weekend shows. So I had to sit home and just watch online all the superfans I just met at the Melbourne show going to the Brisbane concerts. There were one of my friends actually was Madonna's Unapologetic Bitch that night, and the more controversial moment though was when she pulled the top down of a girl who was under the age of 18. I think it was an accident, but that made a lot of news because there was a lot of bad press with Madonna at the time because she didn't want to talk to any of the media because of all the drama with Rocco, because that's all they're going to ask about. So she didn't do any media at all. So I was told about a press conference at like a thing at the airport and all that was supposed to happen, but that was cancelled. All this stuff didn't happen, and there was a lot of negativity about Madonna because she didn't talk to any of the media. So they made up a bunch of stories about her being drunk and the show's going really bad and all this. And she does play up in the show. She plays her character being like drunk on the stage, and she's got like a bottle, and she was giving Molly like her flask and it just had water in it, which he said to me. So so that was sort of the negative story. Oh, Madonna was late and drunk. That was sort of like how the media covered her. So it wasn't very nice. So and I was sort of watching it from the outside, and it was a bit depressing. I had realised early on that you can't not go to any of the shows. You have to go to all the shows. I'd originally only planned to go to one show and do it big. And then I sort of was realising, like, you can't just sit home while the shows are on in Melbourne and Australia. Just go to all of them. So I was planning to, but I cancelled it because I hate Brisbane, and it wasn't the end of this. It was easy to decide to go to Brisbane the first time because it was the end of the tour. It was the last shows, and I figured they were going to film then. But, yeah, I don't like Brisbane. And it wasn't the end of the tour. And I thought if I have more money, I might be able to get better seats at the last minute for the Sydney show, because I wasn't quite as close. I was a couple of seats across from where I was before. A couple of rows as well. So I was actually closer to the stage, but I was more on the side, not like in front of the stage. So I was hoping to get better seats. And those were newer seats that I'd gotten a couple of weeks before the show, but I still was hoping for better on the night. And I know the two best seats, the one I'd been in for Melbourne and the other one, had gone to a couple at about like 8:30, 9 o'clock that night, because they had just been released, and I think they just walked up to the ticket office and just got them by chance. So had I been haunting the ticket office like I was planning to and looking for better tickets, I might have gotten one of those seats, but it's okay. I ended up pretty close there anyway. So, unbeknownst to me, there was quite a lot of drama in the Superfans group. Now, I'd met them at Tears of a Clown, and I'd sort of been brought into their little circle, and then at the first Melbourne concert, I was literally invited into, like, the front section and standing in front of the Heart stage with from Madonna. But what I didn't know was the person who actually invited me was kind of new to the group, and apparently he didn't know the rules. And some of the people there, some of them are really great. I'm still friends with them. They're still on my Facebook. I know them. Other ones are really quite nasty. And they didn't like that this local person had just come into their group. Like, how dare he, this interloper. Apparently I pushed my way in and taken people's places and something. It was just bitchy stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't realise that happened. So I knew this going in the second time. And the guy who actually invited me in on the Monday night was sort of cast astray on the Sunday night, the next night. I saw him at the box office, and he didn't even know where his seat was because just the way all that was set up. And he ended up being on the side somewhere that night, and I didn't even see him the whole night because he wasn't with the super fans. I keep thinking of the Super Friends, which was a superhero TV show in the 80s with like Batman and Superman and all that. So I'm trying not to say Super Friends every time I go to say Super Fans. So forgive me if I slip. But yeah, so he wasn't with them, and I found out from him that he'd basically gotten in trouble for inviting me into the group and giving me his seat and everything. So that was just like, okay, too much. So I ended up having seats that were about 2 rows ahead of where I was the first night. I was a row behind the first row in front of the heart stage. This time I was a row ahead of that, but it's more on the side just because the heart stage is like that and the seats are like, so I was like here. And I was just next to I was like the third seat over because those first two seats are like the really expensive VIP ones because they know you're going to stand on the barrier anyway, you're not going to sit in your seat. I don't know why they just don't sell barrier seats and then people can sit in their actual seats instead of just getting up and standing by the barrier, but that's what they were doing. And I knew that, and I talked to them, and they were really nice, and they were fine with me standing behind them, which is what I did. So I stood behind them, so it was like them, and then me looking over their shoulders. So, yeah, I have a photo from like that shot, and you can see the two guys in front of me. And it's funny, in all my photos, Madonna looks really far away, but you're actually literally just a metre or so away, so I don't know why it doesn't look. It's just the guys, the barrier, the space, the stage, Madonna. And you can see the only person in between is like one of the bouncers. So it was a little different this time because I was on the opposite side from the superfans. I'd talked to them and hung out with them because I really got along with one of them, Jenny Crooks. I want to say Coombs because I know someone else with the same name. She's really nice. She's lovely. I love her. I always get afraid whenever I bitch about Madonna that she's going to like get offended and unfriend me or something, but she hasn't yet because she's nice. And I'm friends with a couple of other guys that I talked to in that as well. But I was really aware that some of the other people, they really hated me. And I'm like, okay. So I went over to the other side and I waved to Jenny that to let her know where I was. And, and the show started. It was very much, the same. You get excited at the same points. It was a little bit different this time because I was watching the guys on the poles come down in different places. So they weren't coming down over me. Because when I was in the centre, just in front of the heart stage, they came right down. I felt like they were going to touch me, and they touched the person behind me. And in the show, they actually do touch the hand of someone, like in the audience, and that was the row behind where I was in the first show. So it was only slightly different perspective, but not by much. And Madonna came down, of course, to the heart stage. This time, for the Sydney show, she did the whole show because they were filming it. Because that was the other thing about the Sydney shows. Everyone wanted a good seat because they knew she was filming this for the DVD. And it got a bit nasty up the front. People were fighting because there were people who had just walked up and stood on the barrier who weren't the people who were seated next to the barrier. And I knew the people seated next to the barrier stand on the barrier. And people can stand behind them and get away with that. But so I kind of knew what my place was as far as my tickets went and what I could do and what I couldn't and what I could push and what I couldn't. So I did a fairly good job of getting pretty much on the barrier both nights. Saturday and Sunday. And some other people just walked up and thought, I can just stand here because there's no one here. And no, people got up, people went to security, they got sort of taken away and they were being nasty. And what had happened to me also was on the last night, I'm not sure if I should just talk about both shows like together or I should sort of separate them. I guess I'll get to that. I'll just do the first show. So the first show, like I was just a couple of seats closer. I wasn't actually next to the people on the barrier. I was a couple of seats away from them, but shouldn't have made much difference. But it was great. The show was great. I ended up, these guys thinned out a little bit because Madonna was so late showing up. She'd start around 11, and a lot of people were pissed off because they thought if the show was supposed to start at 8:30, that was the opening act that started at 8:30, not Madonna. No one expected her to be there before like 11 at least. And that's why the fans, they come early just in case she's on time, which no one ever knew would happen, but God knows no one wanted to miss the start of the show. And we'd all end up just hanging out and talking, and that still happened. I still knew a lot of people in Sydney who went to the shows, local guys I knew that I met through Mardi Gras and just from hooking up when they visited Melbourne. Like, just some other people were there, like there was a porn star I knew and a few other people, and I just like was meeting up with all these people and taking photos, and I walked all the way up to the top of, literally the top, because I knew some people in the nosebleed seats, so I went all the way up and hung out with them for a bit, which is really, I felt like I was going to fall. That is so steep. And I just was down there, and I don't know, it was amazing. Seeing the different section of the show was very different as well. And she seemed to spend more time sitting and talking with the audience than she did when she was doing the Living for Love section, because I think she was, if I remember correctly, she was standing. She did more of a comedy routine about being drunk and how the Tears of the Clown show had done. She rode in on her tricycle, which I'd rode and everything. But in the Sydney shows, it was a bit different. At the end, they sit down on a stool and she spanks her dancers and they spank her. And she seemed to spend a bit more time talking to people. And although I was more on the side and not looking directly at her, I was closer. And the times when she looked at my side of the audience, I felt like I was more in like looking at her and in her space and that. So it was a different experience. And I did manage to get, like I said, behind those people. And then, because it was late, as I was saying before, the crowd did thin out a little bit, where people just got tired and sat down, or if they actually left to go home or to catch the last train or something. There was a lot of drama. They actually had to extend the trains and add extra services so the fans could get home, because everyone knew she's going to be so late, we're not going to make the last train. So some people maybe left because they were driving, but I actually managed to get on the barrier again because the guys just let me stand next to them because there was space. So I was on the barrier for the last section of the show, I think a bit earlier than when I got the other guy's spot. And it was amazing. I mean, you've all seen the show. The show is better than the DVD. It's hard to watch the DVD because the editing is so choppy and fast. Like, I can see myself on the DVD, or at least I could the first time I saw it, because it goes a bit slower the first time you see it because everything's new. When you've seen it a few times, it races by so fast. I can't see myself anymore. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm there. Okay, when the guy comes down, yeah, I'm just over there. And it's kind of fun playing, Spot Stevie. And because all the wide shots, I'm in them. Some of the close-up ones are from different concerts, and they also cut in between different performances during the performance. So you see Madonna's outfit change. It's just a mess. And a lot of people are afraid that the Madame X promotional tour DVD is going to be the same. I call it the promotional tour, the promotional theatre tour, because it wasn't the same as Rebel Heart. No, I wasn't actually there, but I've seen enough of videos and followed it and know enough people who went and spoke to enough people who went who said it was very different. And she tried to stage the same sort of size show on the theatre stage, and it didn't work. It was good in its own right, but it wasn't the same. So at the end of the night, I met up with the people like normal. Basically, spoke to the same people who were friendly, avoided the scary ones. Because, like I said, there were fights. There were people who were like pushing to get to the front to get there because they wanted to be, not just see her for the last time for those two shows, but also be in the audience because they knew they were shooting for those last two shows. And it did get a bit scary. Like what happened to me on the second night, I'll get into. But yeah, it got a bit nasty. But I still talked to the people I knew. It was nice. And then because of the lockout laws in Sydney, which I think was still the lockout laws, I didn't go out because it was too late to get to a venue before they closed at 1:30. You couldn't get in after, was it 12:30 or 1:30? I think after 1:30 you couldn't get in. And the only venue that Madonna's dancers might have gone to if they could have gotten in, I heard they didn't get into anything. If they had gotten in somewhere, they would have had to have left pretty early because there's a fairly long line. Now, maybe being Madonna's dancers, they could have got ahead of the line. But I don't think they went anywhere. I didn't see them anywhere. I saw them in Melbourne, but I didn't see them. But fortunately, I bumped into a couple of them before the show. And like with Tears of a Clown, I saw them before the show, and also saw Madonna's boyfriend before the show. And I didn't know, because I hadn't seen any of the videos of the show, what he did. And people were talking about him like, I don't know who this guy is. It was really nice because I just said, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you did in the show. They're just telling me, talk to him. He's one of the dancers. And he was really nice. He was really friendly. And all the dancers were all the same. They did a fair good job of going around before the show while people were waiting for Madonna and sort of meeting people and that. And I got some photos of one of them, a couple of them actually, a few of them actually. I got a bunch of photos. I met Mary Mack, got photos with her. I met a lot of Madonna's people, but I never met her, of course. So it almost felt like we're travelling to Sydney in that. It almost felt like being in, I know I shouldn't say that. It felt like being in Truth or Dare or in Bed with Madonna. I felt like I was like on tour. I know it's just sort of wanting to be somewhere you're not and wanting to be part of something you're not, but that's what it felt like. I felt like this whole group was just moving around following Madonna everywhere, and I felt part of it. And it was just a really great experience because I almost feel like when I watch In Bed with Madonna now, I feel like I kind of know what that experience is like now, a little bit. And I've gotten a bit closer to some other tours and performers and tours and that. So not this show, but some other ones. So I kind of feel like I know what that's like. And it's very exciting. I wish I could almost be a roadie or something or travel with one of those tours legitimately. But now, on to the next night, because everyone just sort of went their own way. I don't think anyone really got into any of the clubs or anything. The next night was even more hectic because I didn't have quite as good a seat. and there was someone sitting in my seat, because I went to the front and was talking to, in front of the Heart Station, was talking to Jenny and that at the Heart Stage, because they were all in the front like normal, and they had been a bit stressed because they were sort of just sorting out their seats on the night, and they weren't sure where they're going to be, and there's a lot of stress, a lot of tension. Everyone was trying to get that good spot so they could see it for the last show, and also to try and get on camera. It was really hectic. And like I said, there were some people fighting, and I was sitting a couple of seats across, and someone was sitting in my seat, and I just said to the security guard, someone's sitting in my seat. And he said, oh, do you want me to move? I said, no, you know what? Do you mind if I just stand here instead? Because this is a better area. Like, and he's like, oh, that's fine. I said, cool, because I'd rather stand here than in my seat anyway, so he can have it. And he's like, okay, I'm not bothered, because there weren't many people around. And he'd sort of seen me, I think, the other night, and sort of knew those people, and I was hanging out with them, and it was fine. It was really cool, actually. But then when Mary Mac finished and the lights came up, he said, oh, yeah, you kind of got to go back to your seat now. I'm like, well, I'm not going to ask you to move him because I want to come back here. So I'm just going to go up to my friend in the nosebleed seats and visit him, and I'll come back, because I knew when Michael Jackson's song, oh my God, what song was it? Not Billie Jean. Yeah, Billie Jean. One of Michael Jackson's 80s songs would come on, and that's when you knew that was the song before Madonna was coming on. So everyone would get excited and like run to their places. So I was up in the nosebleed seats, and I came down. I was just coming down when that started, so I rushed and I went in. And I got there, and the people there, because they'd been fighting earlier over seats and that for the second night, I think. And they had like closed off. They were standing in the end of the aisles, and they wouldn't let anyone in. And I'm like, my seat's over there. And they wouldn't let me in. I'm like, but my seat's over there. And like, everyone's seated, and I'm like, yeah, because someone's sitting in my seat. I didn't say, and I'm standing in at the Heart Stage in front of that instead of sitting in my seat. But they wouldn't even let me to my seat. So I thought, well, what would Madonna do? And I looked, and all the people were standing up, and the rows of seats behind them were empty. So I just got up on the seat and just walked down the row of seats, got off on the end, and stood in front of the Heart Stage. I did not care. I just did it. And the security guard saw, but he knew I was coming back to the area, so he wasn't bothered that I was, I think, 1 or 2 rows over. So it's actually better. I was actually closer to the centre of the Heart Stage, and I was behind the people just off to the side of the Heart Stage. I could have gone a little bit further and gotten behind a group of girls right in front of the Heart Stage, but there wasn't much room, and it would be hard to explain, like, hey, I'm gay, don't worry, I'm not going to be like up against you or anything, because I think it would have been creepy having some straight guy behind them, because, you know, guys always get handsy. So I sort of thought, no, just stay here, it's okay. You don't have to be right in the centre. You don't have to be close enough, like, okay, maybe we'll get a shot. And those girls did get a close-up that night that I would have been standing behind them in that shot. But it was okay. I didn't need it as much as some other Madonna fans. Some of them were really crazy. They just had to get close to Madonna. It was like she was like the light, and they had to get close to the light. And they were ready to, like, crawl over people and jump up on people's shoulders to try and touch her and stuff. And it was just really scary, actually. A couple of them were really scary. And there were little moments like Madonna threw out cash in the Melbourne concert, like fake Madonna money. And one guy grabbed a whole handful of it, the whole lot. And I had one note. And I was like, can you like let go so I can have this one note? You've got a whole handful. Now, if that was me, I would have kept 2 or 3 for myself and given the rest just to the people around me, especially the people I knew. He just held the whole handful for himself. And the only way I would have got that note is if I'd torn it in half. So I let it go. I'm like, fine, you want to be that guy, you be that guy. I do not need this that much. I love Madonna, but I don't think she's like supernatural. I don't think she's God. I don't worship her. And this was real, like, stand level worship. And it was a bit scary by the time I'd seen this a few times. Not to trash any of my friends, because they're not like that, but other people were. And like in the first show, one guy and a girl had actually come down into my line and pushed sort of a little bit ahead of me. And I was like, excuse me. And I pushed my way back around. And this guy was way taller than me, so he let me stand in front of him. But that's where I was anyway. So it was really, really hard fighting for your place. And again, it's funny that the people ahead of me, unfortunately, were a little bit taller. And one girl, her hair was not tied back tightly, so she had all this hair. And in my videos, there's her hair on the side of the camera because it was like curly and sticking out. I didn't notice that because I was trying to focus on the show and just film like this. But eventually they got tired of standing up. And there was another person who was arguing about saying, there are people standing up in front of me. And they were like, lady, it's a stand-up show. You want to see the show? You stand up. You can't just sit down and expect people to sit down and not stand up in front of you. So people stood up. Those people eventually got tired, sat down even earlier. So I got on the barrier even earlier this time for this show. So it was even better because I saw more of the show up close. And again, Madonna did, Holiday at the end, and I was up the front for it. And so I got to see Madonna performing Holiday at the end of the show, which is my dream, for 4 shows. The Tears of the Clown and 3 of the Rebel Hearts, because I had 3 Heart Stage seats, and I got on the barrier for the 3 Heart Stage. What would have been Heart Stage seats, but I was actually, each time I was a little bit further back, but each time I got to the front and then got on the barrier each night. So it was really great, and the security guy was really cool. He even asked me during the night, how many more numbers are there, because he was getting tired, because they have a sucky job. They stand facing the audience and have the show before them. They don't even get to watch the show. So I was just being nice to him, he was being nice to me. It was just, most of the people were nice. Some people were scary, because they were just desperate to get near Madonna that last time and to try and get their shot in. And I did get a shot. The guy who I'd spoken to, who was on the camera, who my friend had introduced me to, he did put the camera on me for a second, and I got really shy, and I just was I didn't nah or anything, I didn't wave or anything. So there is a shot of me in there, but it's just me and people's sort of arms going up and down. So had I actually waved I bought the Rebel Heart album, because I was going to hold that up so I could see where I was. If I'd waved that around or something like that, I would have had a shot like that of me in there, but I just didn't want to be that person waving their banner around and blocking people's view just so I can stand out. I just didn't I didn't want to be that guy. So I regret it a little bit, because I have to really look for myself in the video, and I would have got a proper shot instead of I'm in it for 1 second. I would have got a couple of seconds like most of the people I knew did, because they knew the camera guy and spoke to him as well. But so this time it ended a little differently. There was a bit of somberness. Everyone left. It was raining. We all left together. We took some videos and sang some Madonna songs for some videos and stuff like that. And that Madonna documentary one of the fans made, that shot's in the preview, and I think was going to be in the film, but she had a fight with one of my friends who I'm in the footage with, so she edited him out of the video, out of the documentary despite him, and I think I was in that footage, so I don't think I'm in the documentary anymore. But we just sort of slowly parted ways. It was kind of sad. It was the end of the tour, the end of the concert, the end of the tour. It was raining. There was nowhere to go because everything was locked down in Sydney. We just caught the last train. We had to run for the last train. That extended the trains, but Madonna was so late that we only just made it. We all had to run to catch the train to get home. I went back to my hotel, and it was all a bit surreal. It took a few days to really sink in that Madonna came, she toured, she left, and this is probably going to be the only time and last time I'd see her. And she didn't come back for Madame X. That started to show. It was going to be a train wreck very early on, and even though I had a few thousand saved, just enough to go and see a couple of shows, I decided not to. And fortunately, I made the right decision, because all the shows that I had planned to book seats for were all cancelled. So I would have gone to America and London and had no shows to go to if I'd done that, unless I could have got tickets for other shows while I was there, because I had a couple of days each time I might have been able to, but it would have been a nightmare. And not be able to take photos, not be able to take videos, and just the nature of the thing where so many seats were highly priced, and to get good seats you had to pay a lot of money. There were very few good seats in the back, whereas with the arena there's a lot of good seats that are still a decent price. It was a totally different thing, and I don't consider it as, I feel like I went to the last Madonna tour. I feel like I saw Madonna in her last real concert, and I'm very grateful for that, because I don't really think Madame X counts. I know all the people who went will say, yes, it was great. I know a lot of people who also went and said it was bad. It was a disappointment. It was a step down. She shouldn't have done it. But I'll talk about that some other time. I'm done. Took 25 minutes, almost 23 minutes, but I'm done. Feel free to share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, what your Madonna experience was of the tour. Feel free to share it. I thought I was going to beat 23 minutes, but I just hit 24. Damn it. But yeah, maybe even ding the little bell. It does help. You might actually see my videos when they come up. Yep. End of the day, I'm glad I went. It was a great tour. It was a great show. Madonna was great in it. I mean, I was so close. I could ponder things like her skin. I'm like, oh, she's an actual human being. I can see the skin on her arm above her sleeve. I'm like, she's a human being. She's actually real. It was just so surreal to just see her and realize, oh my God. There was a moment. God, I'm going to go for 25 minutes. There was a moment in when she did Love Don't Live Here Anymore and she was above us on the stairwell, and that was amazing. And when she did Like a Virgin, and the pink lighting, the basic dance moves and all that, like it's really simple. And I just really like had this moment of, oh my God, this is Madonna, that same person I watched in the Virgin Tour and Blonde Ambition. And I had the same moment during Tears of a Clown and that, but it was just surreal. And I know a lot of people see Madonna a lot of times, so it's not a big deal for them. But for me, this is the only time I ever saw her live, those 4 concerts for those 2 shows. And it was really amazing. And sadly, it was probably the greatest week or greatest time of my life. I nearly got a Rebel Heart tour, Rebel Heart tattoo on my chest, which I still could do. But it's probably I don't think anything I'll be more excited for and will be greater than that, like entertainment-wise. So yeah, it was amazing, and I'm really going to go this time. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, let me know what you thought if you went to the show. And by the way, if you're on the other side of the Heart stage and you have pictures of Madonna's back with me in front of her, please feel free to let me know. I know they exist. I was talking to a fan once and then I couldn't find them again. So I'd love some of those pictures. Thanks. Bye.